Hey everybody, it's Mr. Mackey. I'm gonna start some lessons. It's really awkward not having a class in front of me, but I'm gonna pretend that you're out there and that this is my classroom, even though it's my downstairs living room. This is gonna be review for most of the Mustangs, but this video is gonna go out to all the 7th grade teams, and so we'll just get started. We'll see how it goes, and this is my first time. All right, let's bring your eyes up front. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Grant. Nice job, Daniel. All right, here we go. We're gonna get started. That's a circle. Circles are everywhere. Like my beaver coaster is a circle. This cup has a circle on it. Circles you use all the time. There's a couple things about circles that you need to know, some vocabulary terms. This right here, what is this called? Yes, Ivana. Yeah, that's a radius. Nice one. R-A-D-I-U-S, radius. That's from the center of a circle to the edge of a circle. We also have what's called a, yes, lucero. Diameter, good one. Diameter is from one edge of the circle all the way to the other edge that goes through the middle. Now, what do you think the relationship is between the radius and the diameter? So like if I said the radius was 4, what would make that the diameter? Yes, Grant. 8. Thank you. Why is it 8, Grant? Because the diameter is double the radius. Conversely, if I said the diameter was 17, what would you think the radius is? A little tougher here. Diameter is 17. What do you think the radius is? Conrad, nice one. That would be 8.5. Because half of 17 is 8.5. If you don't know what half of 17 is, I like to take the number right below it, 16. Take half of that number, which is 8. And then the 0.5 plus another 0.5 makes the extra 1 to make it to 17. So your radius is 8.5. Now, what we're going to do with circles, with circumference and area of circles coming up, you're going to need to know radius and diameter. Because sometimes you use the radius, sometimes you use the diameter. All right. This is really awkward still. By the way, I hope everybody's doing well at home, staying safe. Use this time to be healthy. Try and change some bad habits you might have. I've gone on hikes. It's been wonderful. Anyway, side note. All right. So, another word we're going to talk about is circumference. Circumference. Circumference is a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. Okay, you guys know perimeter of a rectangle, you add up the outside sides. Perimeter of a triangle, you add up the outside sides. Circumference is around the circle. Okay, there is a formula for finding circumference. Now I'm going to make another video, or I'm going to post another video explaining exactly where circumference comes from. But for this purpose, for today, I'm just going to give you the formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. D stands for diameter. Mackie, what the heck is that thing? That's called pi. P-I. It's going to be a separate video about pi. For today, pi, we're going to refer to as 3.14. It actually goes on forever, but we're going to keep it at 3.14 for calculating purposes. Okay? So whenever you see that little squiggly thing, that's pi, and that's always this number. It never changes. Pi is this number. What's pi? It's 3.14. Mackie, I don't know what pi is. It's 3.14. That's what it is. So just deal with it. We'll get to it later about where it comes from. Okay, so you need, what does this mean here? To find the circumference, we need pi diameter. When you don't see an operation here, what operation should you do? Should you add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I need like a little like wheel that like counts down, or like a little timer. Good. It means multiply. When you don't see an operation, that means multiply. So we're going to take 3.14 and times it by the diameter of the first circle to figure out the circumference, or around it. Where might you use this? Usually when you're like running and you're trying to figure out a distance around a place, because not everything is perfectly straight lines everywhere. So anytime there's a curve, you're talking about circumference. If you're calculating, if you're putting something around a rug or around, maybe even like sewing a hat together, you're talking about circumference. Like my hat that I have on, when you measure hats, if you get like a really fancy hat, sorry, let me get my hair on, okay. If you get like a really fancy hat from like Lids and they have to measure your head, they're actually measuring the circumference of your head to figure out what your hat size is. Now, when you have a hat like this that you just buttons in, you don't need circumference. You just put it on the right button. But certain hats don't have this and it goes perfect. That's why you have to get your circumference. And how do they figure it out? They do this. Pi times diameter. All right, let's erase. So, if we have, keep this up here. If we have a circle, and I tell you that the diameter is 18 inches, and I say what is the circumference, we're going to just use this formula, pi times diameter. Now, students on the Mustangs know that I will call on a kid over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to pretend that I'm calling on Salsa. Salsa, this is the, she'll say diameter. I'll try and act like Salsa. Salsa, this is the diameter, and this is the circumference. And to find the circumference, we need the diameter. Salsa, is this the diameter? Yes. So you're going to take the number 18 and put it right there, because 18 is the diameter. Then we're going to take 18 and times it by pi. Now, Mustangs, this is new to you and this is new to everybody. Sometimes you're going to just leave the answer like this, 18 times pi. And that's your answer, 18 pi. Sometimes you're going to actually times 18 by 3.14. And you just bust out your calculator or your phone calculator. 18 times 3.14 equal 56.52 inches. That's how many inches will go around this circle. Questions? Well, if you have them, I can't answer them anyways because I'm talking to a computer screen. So sorry. Next. Mackie, what if you have a circle like this? We're going to use our formula, circumference equals pi times diameter. Let's see, who should I call on this time? Let's think of somebody in my class. Edmund. Edmund, to find the circumference, we need the diameter. That's the radius. So kids will make the mistake, Edmund, and put the radius right there. But you shouldn't, because we need the diameter. So if the radius is 4, then Edmund, what would the diameter be? This is where the color wheel. You're shouting out the answer right now to the screen. Yes, it would be 8. Why? Because if this is 4, we need all the way across, which is another 4, and 4 and 4 make 8. And then all you're going to do, in terms of pi, the answer is 8 pi. If we said pi was 3.14, then we would plug into our calculator 3.14 times 8. 3.14 times 8 equal 2512 feet. That's how far around the circle. So these are two basic circles that you can use to solve circumference. Now I'm going to show you a couple word problems and show you exactly what to do with a couple of the word problems. Isn't this exhilarating? I'm talking to no one. All right, let's start with this one. I've got to check out my computer screen to see if you can read this. All right, there. If a 12-inch tire makes 400 revolutions, how far does the tire go? If you need to pause, pause now. All right? So we've got a tire. When they measure tires, tires are measured as their diameter. So the diameter is 12-inch tire, okay? This is going to make 400 revolutions. Mackie, what is a revolution? Good, I gave you some think time there. A revolution is a rotation. That's one time around. So imagine this is a tire, and the tire turns one time around. Notice how the tire actually moved a distance. Around is its circumference. Circumference. So we're going to find the circumference of this tire. That is the diameter, so we're going to put it right there. We're going to times it by pi. Now, again, this is your answer times by pi, and this is the answer actually timesing it by pi. Let's see, can I do that in my head? What is that, 3648? I don't want to get it wrong since now it's getting recorded. 12 times 3.14. This is if the tire made a 1 revolution. This tire is going to make 400. So we're going to take this answer that we got for how far it went one time, and we're going to times it by 400. Or we're going to take this answer, 12 pi, and times it by 400. I know, this is exhilarating watching me do math on my calculator. 12 times 400. So this answer, 4,800 pi is an answer. And if you actually times it by pi, then it would be 15,072 inches. That's how far this tire goes 400 times. Yo, Mackie, how many feet is that? Well, if this is how many inches there are, how many inches are in a foot? 12. Good. Who said that? Cynthia. Nice job. All right, so if we wanted to figure out how many feet this was, we would take this answer and divide it by 12, because there's 12 inches in a foot. Divided by 12 equals 1,256 feet. You could also divide this by 12, and you would get 400 pi. That makes sense, because that is 12. Okay. Questions? Good. There aren't any because I can't answer them because I'm talking to a computer screen. All right, let's try one more word problem with circumference. The radius of a circular track measures 40 yards. If you ran around the track 5 times, how far would you go? Hit pause if you need to. If you want to try and do it on your own, hit pause, try and do it on your own, then watch me do it. Here we go. Circular track. Here's the track, right? You're like running around the track. The radius is 40 yards. And you're running around it 5 times. Since we're running around, we're finding circumference. And here's your beautiful formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. You're going to take, we need the diameter. You stop, you don't go too fast, and you think to yourself, is that the diameter? No. That's the radius. We need the diameter. The diameter, therefore, would be 80. 80 times pi, 80 pi. There's your answer for how many yards it is in terms of pi. If you actually times it by 3.14, you would do 80 times 3.14. 80 times 3.14 equals 251.2 yards. That's how far you would go one time around the track. You're going to do it 5 times. So what should we do with this number in 5? Nas, good, yes, times this by 5. times 5 equals. This is how far you would go if you ran around the track 5 times. In terms of pi, you could take that and times it by 5 as well, and your answer could be 400 pi yards. This looks strange to some of you, but you can either leave it with the pi number next to it, or you can actually times it by pi. Questions? Again, nobody has them. I'm sure you do have them, but it's okay if you do, because you can message me, I suppose, on my email, or your teacher on their email. All right, there's going to be a Google form. I'd like you to try and solve some of those problems. If you have questions, email your teacher, and I'll be back next time. Bye. I'm out. Go do some math.